So today my guest is Roger Mansourian, the owner of Vantage Home Loans. Roger, I would love if you could quickly give us a brief description of how Vantage Home Loans does their work.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vantage Home Loans, we're based out of Los Angeles, California. I moved to Gilbert, Arizona 5 years ago. So now we have a base in Phoenix area as well as Los Angeles. And yeah, we help people buy real estate. We represent them as buyers and sellers, also help with financing, residential, commercial, and construction loans.
Awesome. And can you share a bit about what your day-to-day looks like as an owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So my day to day is my relationships. Really, that's the main thing that I focus on in my business. I've been in the mortgage and real estate fields for about 16 years. So I started in 2009. So, that whole time built a lot of relationships, helped a lot of people. So I focus on calling, texting, checking in with my clients, who a lot of them have become my friends, posting on my Instagram, Roger Mansourian, and working on my weekly newsletter. And then, of course, helping put out any fires that come up in the transactions that we're working on. So that's how my day-to-day looks.
Awesome. And so what was the main purpose behind starting Vantage Home Loans? Were you working for a company before and just kind of broke off and decided to make your own, or how did that come about?
Yeah, actually, I started in the mortgage business when everything crashed in 2008. So everything crashed, and that's when I got hired. My cousin started a mortgage company, so I got fired from Wells Fargo, and he offered me a job, but the market had crashed. I mean, the people were not buying houses. I mean, if you remember, you might be a little young. I don't know how old you are, but when the market crashed, do you remember that time?
I don't. I'd say I was probably 4 years old at the time.
You were four. Okay, so you're super young. Just to give your audience, if they're younger, a brief overview. What happened was the bank started giving loans to everyone.
Mm,
Like if you had a credit score, you can buy a house with no down payment. You could buy $1 million house. The way, and they didn't even verify your income. So you just wrote down on your application,
yeah.
my name's Roman. I make 25,000. Here's $1 million loan. Go buy yourself a
Wow.
house.
That is crazy.
It's absolutely wild. So what happened was everyone kept, what they didn't explain to people was, hey, your payment on this $1 million house is only 3,000 a month, but that's only for 1 year. After the first year, your payment went from 3,000 to 6,000. In year three, your payment went to 9,000.
Wow.
So they didn't tell people.
Yeah.
So you bought these houses. So what happened was also everyone outbid each other, right? So if you saw a sick house, you're like, this guy's offering 800. All right, I'll offer 850, because it didn't matter because the payments were so low and you qualify. Anyway, you could see how this became a bubble. Everything crashed. So the house that you bought for $1 million is now worth like 600,000. So the company that I worked for, we helped people save their homes because, as you can imagine, if you bought a house and your payment went from 3,000 to 9,000, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
So my career for the first 5 years, people, not just people who bought recently, but people had family homes for 5 or 10 years. Everything crashed. People lost their jobs. Their income went down. So I helped people save their homes. And you
Yeah.
would negotiate with the banks. It was called a loan modification. It's not something that really exists anymore. The government bailed out the banks, which, that money eventually went to the homeowners. So I started my career helping people save their home. So it was so fulfilling. Like when we
Yeah.
got their loan payment down, sometimes the bank would even like knock $100,000, $200,000 off of what they owe. It was super fulfilling.
I can
So
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, and every day I had people calling me crying because they're losing their house. They were getting foreclosure notices, and to call them and say, hey, we got the loan modification done. You're going to save your house. Your interest rate's 2%. Your payment's going to be affordable. It was awesome. It was really awesome feeling, but then that came to an end.
Yeah.
The program ran out. We kind of, that bailout fixed the problem, got people to save their homes. And then after that, because I like being in mortgages, working with people, good with numbers, I started my company, Vantage Realty and Home Loans. About 6 months later, I brought in my partner, Robbie Rodriguez, and now we're helping people buy homes. So we're helping people buy homes, refinance, and build wealth through real estate.
Amazing. That's awesome. That's a great story on how you started out helping people save their homes. I love that. That's so when you got into that, was there any risk involved with trying to communicate with the bank and losing your money possibly, or
Um, Risk involved from our end or the people buying the houses?
from your end, from loaning them the
Yeah.
money?
So I was an employee at my cousin's company. I was one of the
Hmm.
first employees, and then we were helping a lot of people. So the company grew and I became a manager, and I was managing 10, 15 people. I mean, the risk is we were pretty good at what we were doing, but the risk is it's not guaranteed that the bank will give you a loan modification, right?
Yeah.
So there were times where the bank said, no, you don't qualify, or you have a type of loan that doesn't isn't part of the bailout, or
Hmm.
your income is not sufficient. So we were not perfect. We didn't bat 1,000. There were some clients who unfortunately we couldn't help them get approved, and some
Yeah.
of them were forced to kind of sell their homes at a loss, and that sucked. But it's just kind of part of it, but just like any
Yeah.
other business.
Yeah, for sure. So now moving to a little more about Vantage Home Loans. You have built a pretty strong reputation. What do you think sets your company apart from others in the industry?
Yeah, so we're a relationship based company. You know, Almost all of our business comes through referrals. So every single person that we talk to, whether it's a new client, a past client, we really are just transparent, informative, educational. So we're not, we don't like to think of ourselves as salespeople. We like to think of ourselves as educators, and we're just telling you, hey, based on your situation, these are your options. This is what you can do, and just being totally honest, upfront, transparent, and build the trust, and treat people like how I would treat a family member.
Yeah.
Even my own mother. I would treat a client of mine like the advice I'd give them is the same I'd give to my family members. And I think people feel it and they build that trust. And after doing one transaction with you, our goal is to create clients for life and get referrals from them. And that's what I think sets us apart from other companies.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. And that just builds a rapport that will bring more and more people towards you. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of those clients, you said there are a bunch of referrals. How do you personalize the mortgage experience for all of them?
Yeah. Great question. So we do have a system. We do have a system that we put each client through. We have a great team. And yeah, there are every client's a little bit different. You're right. There is a little bit of personalization. Some clients prefer text. Clients prefer email. Some clients want to talk to you on the phone for an hour and and ask you a lot of questions. And
Yeah.
people understand things in different ways. Some people
Hmm.
want to see it. Some people want to hear it. So we just adapt.
Yeah.
Some clients are more the younger generation, like you. You just go bang bang, just text is usually good enough.
Hmm.
Some concepts are a little more detailed and it doesn't translate well via text, or it's hard to kind of break everything down into text. So I use
Hmm.
voice note, so instead of sending a very, very long text, I'll do a voice note. So we do personalize a little bit based on the client's preference.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great. And now I'm going to move into some industry trends. So, what are some
sure.
major shifts that you're seeing in the mortgage and real estate industry right now?
Yeah. Um, Great question. That seems to be the topic, especially in the news with Trump, tariffs,
Yeah.
the inflation. Today, we had an inflation report come out. Year over year, the inflation was 2.8%. That's the lowest it's been in 4 years. So it's
Mm.
going in the right direction. It
Yeah.
seems like Trump's tariffs are going to possibly cause a little bit of a slowdown in the economy.
Hmm.
So inflation coming down, slowdown in the economy. What I foresee is rates are coming down. Mortgage
Yeah.
rates are coming down. And what's interesting is even in the past 3 years or so since, post COVID, rates have been very elevated. Real estate prices have not come down.
Mm.
Even with mortgage rates at 7-8%, house prices are still appreciating.
Yeah.
And I just think real estate is just one of those things that is always going to be around. It's such a strong place to put your money. A lot of
Definitely.
Yeah, a lot of the young entrepreneurs that I work with that are 20, 21, the first thing they do once they have their first 100K a year, 150K a year, they're buying a house. That's
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a client that's 22. He just bought his second house for like $1.2
Wow.
million. dollars.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, real estate's very resilient. And what I think is going to happen is if rates come down, unless there's a crazy crash in the economy, which I don't really foresee anything crazy happening, when rates come down, that's just going to accelerate home prices. Like, because
Yeah.
if home prices were going up when rates were 7%, if rates come down to 4 or 5%, you could just imagine real estate's just going to continue to
Yeah.
expand.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so when you're advising these clients on how to navigate the fluctuating market and rates, how do you do that? How do you go about that?
Yeah. I think real estate, when you're ready to buy a house, whether you're a family and you're a growing family and just had kids and you got to get a bigger place, or you're a young entrepreneur and you want to buy your first piece of real estate, um, I don't think rates are going to be the make or break. I
Hmm.
think rates are just what they are. Like, for example, right now, a lot of my clients over the past 2 years, their rates are 7%.
Yeah.
So if rates go up, then you're going to be like, well, I got a good deal. If rates come down, you refinance and you get that lower rate. So if rates do
Yeah.
drop to 5%, you're going to drop, your rate from 7 to 5, and you're winning, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
real estate's a long-term game. It's a long-term
Hmm.
investment. So if you're not buying today because rates are high, that probably means you're just not ready to buy.
Yeah. Understandable. Yeah, for sure. And with the new surge of AI in the world today, how do you see that impacting real estate or mortgages at all?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot recently. Um, AI in general obviously is going to make everyone's life easier. You're
Hmm.
creating content, so I'm sure you're using AI to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to automations, content creation, um, not fully using AI. I mean, you could use AI to give you like the maybe the backbone of your message, but you still want to personalize it. Like my weekly
Definitely.
newsletter, I use AI to kind of give me a template and then I make it my own. As
Yeah.
far as the actual mortgage business, real estate business, just like when it comes to law or medical stuff, I feel like AI is going to be a huge help. You're going to be able to go into AI and say, my mortgage lender is offering me this type of loan at this type of rate. Is that a good rate? What are the current rates for this? You know what I mean? So it's going to
Yeah.
be like kind of like a personal advisor in a way.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to streamline the process. Um,
Definitely. Yeah.
and I know some people, probably the little bit, I would say older generation is going to say things like, well, there's still people who want the personal touch. And I think that's true to a certain degree. You want to talk to a real person with experience,
Mm.
but AI is definitely going to help, just make things smoother, easier, and more streamlined.
Definitely, yeah, I agree, and it's crazy how we're just getting started, and it's only going to continue to grow. So I
Yeah. How
think,
are you,
yeah, for
how are
sure.
you seeing AI affect what you're doing?
Yeah, so well, for example, how I reached out to you, I use it's a software and that scrapes a bunch of leads off the internet, and it uses AI to find all those leads in real estate. Um, and then I also have another software that takes those leads and it sends out emails to all of them. So that's how I reached out to you and all the other people on my podcast. So already I was able to reach a lot more people and get them on my podcast through using AI that way. So that's how I've been using it right now, and I've also been able to, like you said, have a template of my script and then just fill it in with all the stuff that I find on your LinkedIn and website and everything. So
Yeah. So you're putting in your software, find me real estate mortgage professionals that, and then you put in your criteria that have been in business this long or have good reviews or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I mean, I can do all over the United States, real estate, mortgage, investors, anything. And I can do, how long they've been in the industry, how much they're making, and all that sort of stuff. There's a ton of filters, and it's pretty cool. It's coming out with more as it goes as well. So that's how I've
Yeah.
been able to outreach a lot of people and try to get them on the podcast. So
Yeah. And then with that, you could probably do a podcast a day.
yeah, so far so far it's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's great. And then it's just going to keep getting better as it keeps learning what you want,
Yeah,
and it gets to know you. And yeah, it's the future. You just can't resist it. You can't fight it. So you just got to go with it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
it's awesome.
All right, so now I'm gonna move into some of your future goals for the company. So what has been working well for you guys right now?
Yeah. So again, our network has worked well. However, we are shifting and changing. We do have bigger goals. We've always been pretty much a boutique company, right? So
Hmm.
basically, we've been a smaller company. We really want to grow. We've just been doing this for so long and we're really good at what we're doing. And we're building systems, redoing our website. And we just want to help as many people as possible.
Yeah,
So yeah, the future looks bright. We're gonna keep expanding and growing. Um, we're gonna start finally doing some, excuse me, we're going to start doing some advertising on
yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, probably using some AI tools for that, and try
yeah,
to reach more aligned people. And we're not looking to grow our company and just look for people who just want the lowest rate, right? So we
mm,
have our core values, our core philosophy, and we want to just attract people who align with what we believe in.
yeah,
And I realized when we started our rebrand about a year ago, we're just about to launch our new website. But I realized when I'm like, let me do some competitor research, and I went on maybe 100 mortgage companies' websites, and none of them had a soul. They all
yeah,
looked the same. They're like, these are the programs we offer. FHA, conventional, blah blah blah. Here's a mortgage calculator. And I was like, I I want to stand out. We
yeah,
can stand out, because if we create a deeper message, we create a deeper, when people land on our website, I want them to feel. I want them to feel something. And
yeah,
our values are around family, number one. We really think your family being together and supported is gonna create a better world. We're in a better world when parents are together, raising a kid, and families like the cornerstone. We also believe in community and education. So a portion of our proceeds are going to go back to community causes. And then education. Like, we just want to be able to provide you with so much education that you feel empowered during the process and you never feel like you made a bad decision, and you're
yeah,
informed. So family, community, educational, and that's going to be our cornerstones as we grow our company. And we only want to work with people who are aligned with that and believe in that.
yeah.
So that's the goal, is to
Love it.
grow the team, expand, and and go nationwide eventually. Right now we're
Yeah.
serving California and Arizona mostly, but the goal is to go nationwide.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, expanding and when you expand with that personable goal, like you said before, being friends with your clients, it just leads to more and more people wanting to work with you and the right people as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
And now
absolutely.
if yeah, if you had one problem, one major problem right now that you could solve today, what would it be for you guys?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. That's a good one. One major problem that I would need help solving right now. Um, I think for me, just to be really personal and be somewhat vulnerable, is I'm not great at marketing.
Hmm.
Marketing, I feel like, is so important. And
Yeah,
I, when I started in the mortgage industry, I was surrounded by very old school um, mortgage professionals and real estate professionals. And again, not to knock on them or knock on anyone, but the old school was again very much relationship based, which is great, but completely overlooked marketing,
yeah,
especially in the internet age, right? And like everyone is on their phones, and like, how can you reach more people who are aligned with you and grow your business that way? And I'm just not great at marketing. I'm great with people, I'm great with numbers, but if I can have one employee, my full-time employee that I could hire today that would take things to the next level, it would be a marketing professional with
yeah.
some experience in the mortgage business. That's what I would take right now. Just a kick-ass
Awesome.
marketing person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely. And then to wrap this up, I have one final question that I always ask in all of my podcasts. I've been getting into books myself, trying to better my mental, my my financial advice, and all my real estate advice too by reading books. So, what has been the most impactful book for your journey so far?
Yeah. That's easy. Think and Grow Rich. That one changed the game for me.
Yeah,
And I was at a point probably right before COVID, where I was in $50,000 of debt, and I was broke. I didn't have any assets. I didn't have real estate. I didn't have anything. I was 50,000 in the hole. And I was so desperate that I came across this book. And as I started reading it, I said, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go all in on this book. And not only did I was actually listening to the audiobook. So not only did I listen to it, I would pause the audiobook every few minutes and take a note.
yeah,
And now I have that folder where I took all of those notes on that book. And I think writing it down as I got the messages ingrained the messages themselves deeper.
yeah,
And it took me probably a month to go through the 10-hour audiobook because I was making so many notes. And
yeah.
then I went back and listened to the audiobook again.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so that changed everything. My business skyrocketed. I made a lot of money, bought a couple houses, other investments.
Yeah.
So Think and Grow Rich changed the game for me.
That's amazing. Yeah. So who was the author of that?
Napoleon Hill. And
Great.
he wrote a lot of books. And actually, if you
Yeah.
don't know, have you heard of Napoleon Hill or read any of his
I
books?
have not. No.
So very interesting story if you have a minute before we go.
Yeah.
For anyone who hasn't heard of Napoleon Hill, during his time in the early 1900s, I don't remember the year, he spent every day with, I think it was Dale Carnegie, one of the richest men in the world at the time, maybe the richest person in the world at the time. And his job was to live with him 24/7 and write these books. And he
Yeah.
took the secrets of the richest people of that time and wrote Think and Grow Rich. And maybe a dozen other books around money and money mindset.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, highly recommend
Definitely. I
all of
would
his
love to check
books.
that out for
Yeah,
sure.
what's a book that you've read that's changed,
Yeah.
been
So
impactful
for
for you?
me, yeah. So for me right now, the first book that really got me into reading more books was Beyond Grit. I have it over there, but so actually on my football team in high school, I read this with a group of my seniors, and it just kind of changed like my mindset on, you know, so it was towards football and was also like an entrepreneurial book as well. And it kind of flipped my mindset to like being able to do what I want to do. I was kind of a not very outgoing person, and so that, and it kind of helped me step out of that shell. Like if you told me a couple of years ago that I'd be doing podcasts with a bunch of successful entrepreneurs, I'd be like, oh God, like I don't know about that. But so it's basically a book about staying focused, staying motivated, and being gritty, and really just being able to do what you want to do in life, and sticking to it. So that's kind of what started my journey on reading books, and this as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great. And that, yeah, now you're doing it, and I'll have to check that book out.
Yeah, for sure. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you for taking the time to hop on the call with me today. It's been a great call. I enjoyed learning about you, and I look forward to seeing your successes.
Yeah, same with you. Thank you for reaching out, and I love what you're doing. You're just doing it, right? Like it
Thank
doesn't
you.
have to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I applaud you, and please
Thank you.
share the podcast so I can share it with
Definitely.
my audience, and
Yeah,
help,
I
we can
will.
help each other grow and
For
do
sure.
another podcast when we're both, a lot
Oh, yeah.
bigger and more famous.